Hey folks, Hot Damn here. Wanted to go over the Beta 9 Galahad 3093 mod options, talk about the lances a little bit, the points. The mods have changed quite drastically. I talked about this in my loadout video where I was giving a kind of an overview of what this loadout screen did. In this particular one, I want to talk about the mods and the lances real quick, just where the layouts are now. So we can see lights are looking at 1 offensive, defensive, 4 mobility, 3 sensor, and 1 utility. And you can see that change across each one. So the medium gets double the amount of offensive, defensive, but the mobility goes down, sensor goes down, utility goes up, all by 1. Where the heavy now is going to go 3. So you can see a heavy is more focused, 4 defensive, 3 offensive, and you'll see that opposite on the super heavy, but he's only got 2 mobility, 1 sensor, 2 utility. And you see the same thing on the super heavy with 222 mobility, sensor, utility, but 3 defensive and 4 offensive. So really when you're looking at these, as you go up, the armor goes up, the mobility goes down, and the damage goes up. Heavy is the sweet spot with the most armor, pretty good mobility, and the top or second top damage. Super heavy does more damage because he's got double weapons. But he has super heavy has essentially the same armor as the medium, but the worst mobility of all of them. So let's run through the mods real quick. We're not going to talk about the points costs or anything, but we will look at how each one is laid out. So the offensive mods, when you click in here, you're only going to see the mods that can fit in this category, the offensive mods themselves. Running through them real quick. Accelerant is going to give you faster ability recovery. So think of like Morgan, the Knight Morgan who goes invisible. This means she can go invisible more often. A continuous reloader. I don't particularly use this because I tend to spam the reload R button a lot when I'm moving between places or between fights. But if you wanted to, you could use this, and it's going to gradually reload your weapons for you on the fly. Counterpunch is a new one for up close and personal fights. It's going to reflect damage back. It's going to reflect that armor damage back to the person, but they have to be within 25 meters for it to really hit them hard. I have seen that win fights and lose fights, so it is effective in what it does. A lot of the up-close brawlers that I see are using that now. Enhanced Autoloader is probably the sweet spot of all the offensive mods in my mind. So you will, depending on the type of weapon you're using, you will run out of bullets, and it does take an amount of time to reload those. And the Enhanced Autoloader is going to make that reload process shorter, so it's going to get you back in the fight quicker. So I run that pretty much every build except maybe lights where I'm not doing a lot of shooting. I'll run Enhanced Autoloader. Expanded Mags is also one of my favorites, simply because it's going to give you more bullets to shoot, so you have more to shoot before you run out, and that top tier one is going to give you extra reload speed also. Expansion slot is a good one to stop and talk about. This one can fit in multiple categories, and it's important to take into account for building. If you're throwing a lot of points into particularly your weapons and secondaries because you want to run a kimbo, you're going to quickly run out of points, and especially if you're modding up your weapons, you're going to quickly run out of points. You may get down to the mods and go, oh no, hot damn, I'm completely out of points, or I only have 50 points left. What do? I can't fit any mods and move around quick like the other heavies and super heavies. And I go, okay, go use an expansion slot. Now you can see these give you a lot of extra points to play with, but they also give you some pretty heavy problems too, like walk speed, shield, skim speed, armor's all lowered. This expansion slot's been tweaked quite a bit as of late. Used to be that everybody used them on everything. I would say I still use them, but I have to really be playing a certain build to want to use them, because that walk speed is usually a pretty nasty hit, especially when you're looking at like a super heavy that's already going slow to begin with. With a light, medium, even a heavy, you could say it's an okay trade-off. And like a NIM heavy that's already pretty mobile, it's an okay trade-off. But I don't know, that's pretty beefy hit to get those extra loadout points. So use your points wisely. Last stand is going to delay your death for 3 seconds or 6 seconds. That may give you an extra little bit of time to either finish capping a spot or to kill the guy that's killing you. Gives you that, buys you that few extra seconds that may be worth it. I don't normally run that, but I've seen a lot of people running the 3-second version lately for whatever reason. And Self-Detonator on death inflicts 2,000 or 4,000 damage. So if you're up close and personal fighting somebody, they kill you, you explode, and you might can finish them off with that. So that's running through all the offensive mods. Let's go to the defensive mods now. Defense is going to be all around that energy, kinetic, and explosive damage types. You're going to see resistances for all those, and you're going to see a lot of armor and shield mods here. So armor booster, obviously you're going to gain more armor and you get armor repairs received up. Continual power systems going to essentially trade skim fuel for shield recharge. That's a change in this last beta too, where it used to be just making your shield recharge in a different way. Coordinated defenses is a good one to talk about in short. I don't know that a lot of people use it, but you could see in situations where you knew you were running with a buddy and they were using, like, say, Hellfires, or they were using catapults doing a lot of AoE damage. You could use this and you would take 90% reduced damage from them and 25% reduced damage from yourself. That's been tweaked. It used to be a lot higher on the self-damage. But in groups, or if you have a lot of teammates that are just going nuts, spamming stuff around, and you're taking a lot of team damage, it's not bad to throw it on there. There's Counterpunch showing up again on the defensive. It shows up on offensive and defensive. Emergency shields used to be a lot more, used a lot more. I don't see it quite as much anymore, but when you get to a critical amount of armor, essentially it pops your shields back up to a certain percentage. And that top tier one also increases your shield recharge speed too. Energy shields are just going to be that reduction, the straight reduction for energy damage. There's expansion slots showing up again in here. Kinetic plating is going to be that straight kinetic damage reduction. I'm seeing more people use the kinetic and the reinforced alloy, the explosive damage reductions. Nano is a good one to talk about. If you're not running a Corvus, the repair drone, and you find yourself running around a lot with reduced armor, a Nano, even the lowest level one, your shields will regen on their own within 5-10 seconds. But then, if your armor's stuck at 10% the whole time, you're still an easy target, right? Well, the Nano, as long as your shields are at full, the Nano is going to start healing you up over time. And if you're doing a lot of jumping around, say as a lighter, as a medium, going between places, the Nano can get you back up before you get there, and you're back in fighting position, or at least not going to die on arrival. The reactive fuel generator is a new one that's going to convert armor damage to skim fuel and jet fuel, jump jet fuel. So if you wanted to stay more mobile, you're taking some damage, but you can keep dancing around, or maybe you can get away faster. That's what that one looks based off of. I have not used that one yet. Reinforced alloys, the explosive. Second wind is going to reload weapons after a killer assist. I can't say I've seen a lot of people use that one, but you could probably find a niche use for it. Shield booster. Usually you get this out of the gate at the top level, so you get that 45% shield. A lot of these mods aren't unlocked at the start when you're a brand new player, or if the beta restarts and they start everybody over. So you have to work your way through buying this stuff. I think I talked about that in my loadout video with the hammers and the coins. But usually, I think for sure in beta 9, I don't remember in beta 8, you start with that 45% shield boost. So it does give you a big defensive boost out of the gate at least. Shield Energizer. Shields are kind of down right now because they got a tuning where all lances have the exact same shields now, and it's a bit lower than it was. So I haven't seen people using the Shield Energizer as much, but it was used in beta 8 pretty heavily. But it's a reduction in shield recharge delay, so the amount of time it takes for the automatic shield recharge to kick in. And it increases the speed too. Turret jammer is pretty nice because every base has multiple turrets, and players are using sentries that they're dropping down, and it essentially just turns all that off where they don't shoot at you. And then vector defense would be the last one. If you find yourself jumping out of flights a lot and getting shot down in the air, you may want to look at vector defense. It gives you kind of a bubble 75% damage reduction while you're jumping through the air. It's just on the big jump jet, and the top tier one does give you that jump jet recovery rate. But yeah, if you're getting shot down a lot, look into vector defense. Mobility mods. We're looking at Battle Impulse first. So when you trigger an active ability, so let's say you trigger Kay's active ability where he lays down fire behind him, this would give you a 40% walk speed for 10 seconds or a 20% skim speed for 10 seconds. So essentially you could fly around and lay down that fire in a bigger area, getting around faster, maybe getting them to move through it easier or get away. I've seen some people use Kay's ability to basically lay down a trail of fire as they run away. It's like, follow me, you got to run through fire. So lets you get away faster. Enhanced mobility, you can tap the skim key while moving left or right, and it kind of gives you this quick push to the side, one direction or the other. I've used it a few times. On lights, it's interesting because you can kind of dance around a little bit. You're already very fast, and it gives you the ability to kind of zoom around side to side a little bit more. But I haven't seen many people who are absolutely in love with it, but I have heard of a few people using it to great effect. I've seen that. Once again, expansion slot shows up in here, so you can see you can use that in offensive, defensive, and mobility so far. Flux Capacitor is going to give you 30% reduction in skim fuel consumption. I use this on pretty much every build. I kind of go with Jet Overclock and Flux Capacitor as a pair. Jet Overclock is going to give you increased skim speed and skim fuel capacity. So if you're looking at 30% reduced skim fuel consumption, and then you're looking at 20% skim fuel capacity, you can skim for a lot longer mixing these two together. So in my mind, they kind of go hand in hand, and I almost always use both of them. Jump Jet Enhancer is going to give you essentially faster jumps. You'll be able to jump faster, it'll recharge more, and then the velocity will actually change kind of where you land. It'll give you that little bit of boost of velocity. If you're in a light, you want to go crazy jumps and you want to jump a little bit farther, that's where you want to go to, is the Jump Jet Enhancer. Where Jump Jet Maneuverability is going to give you the ability to control what you're doing in flight a little better. That's one of the common things we hear from new players that are coming in, saying, "Hey, I'm doing this big jump jet, but I can't control myself once I'm in the air. I can't really aim or do anything." This is what you want to look to kind of get some control in the air, and that air brake. If you hold the jump jet key, you can kind of slow yourself down and air brake, and like say S5 in the canyon, you can hit that much easier and land that jump with that air brake than you could without it. The Neo servos are going to give you walk speed. Usually I see it used for the walk speed, but it also gives that 50% jump height. So with NIM, I know at a few betas back, Neo servos with NIM was getting kind of crazy because of the jump height. They could basically be jumping in the air and fighting midair most of the time. And last but not least, we see your active fuel generator show up again in the mobility, just like it did in defensive. Let's go over to sensors. So enhanced tracking, I usually see this used with Arthur with his 10% ping damage. So enemies hit by weapons are auto pinged essentially with this, and you get 100% ping duration, so that ping lasts longer. So he kind of that mod goes hand in hand with Arthur in my mind. Here's one of my favorite mods. So I do a lot of strat calling in games, calling out where people are, go here, do this, do that. And if you don't use improved radar, you can't see where the enemy is to be able to direct traffic, right? So a lot of times I go with this tier 2 version so I can see enemy lances on the map. The tier 3 version shows all enemies within 200 meters too, so you can kind of see them moving around you. If you're in a base that you can't particularly see through the walls and things like that, you can see the enemies within 200 meters automatically highlighted. Tier 2 is good enough for that if you're doing strat calling. Radar scrambles, it glitches all enemy radars in a 50-meter radius. This one, in my mind, is kind of a blessing and a curse because I know when my radar gets scrambled that somebody is close by, and they're running radar scrambler, and that means I have to pay more attention. So if I'm busy doing something, or if I'm on the map screen or something like that, and I'm not looking at my radar, when I get scrambled, okay, I see you coming, even though I can't see where you're coming from. So it's a blessing and a curse. If you're using it, they can't see where you're coming from. There you go. The scan interceptor glitches the enemy view of your armor and shields outside of 50-meter radius. I've seen some snipers using this that like to sit up on hills, and you can't really tell what state they're in. It's an obfuscation thing. I don't personally use it very much, but I have seen people use it. And the turret jammer, again, that we saw in defensive to turn off the deployable and base turrets so they don't shoot at you, which is super nice when you're capping, like as a light medium, that you don't have those base turrets tearing you up when you're running away from a different fight. You walk right by one. And lastly, the utility mods, coordinated defenses again. We already saw that in the defensive mods. You get that reduced damage from allies and self-damage. Double Agent. Let's talk about Double Agent. Tier 2 Double Agent is probably one of my most used mods. I try and fit that on almost everything because Tier 2 gives you the ability to use enemy turbo pads and enemy teleport pads. So in every base, there's going to be teleport pads and turbo pads. Turbo pads recharge your skim fuel and your jump fuel. So a lot of times what I'll find myself doing is I'll jump into a base near a turbo pad, and I'll be using the Tier 2 Double Agent. So I'll hit the turbo pad, and now all my fuel's back up to max. So if I get jumped very early when I get there, I can still use my jump jets to jump out of the fight, and that's a much better alternative than I use my jump jets to get into the base and then immediately get jumped on, and I can't get away from the fight because I don't have any jump jet fuel, right? So that and the teleporters, I use teleporters a ton. Teleporters are a big thing in map knowledge and being able to know where they are and where to use them. And especially on the canyon, I think we've all played the canyon enough by this point, most of the old veteran guys, that we know where all the teleporters are and we use them quite often. But what if you land in a base that the other team has the base and you can't use their teleporter pads? Well, Double Agent gives you the ability to do that. You can see the top tier one gives you turbo pads, teleport pads, repair pads. I don't use the repair pads very much. Usually I have Nano or Corvus or somebody else repairs me. And then this one has also the added benefit of the turret mod that we saw will not be targeted by enemy-based turrets. So you can still get targeted by player turrets, but not the enemy-based turrets. I stick with the tier 2. You could probably argue if you want to use the repair pads to get a tier 3, but last stand we already saw in defensive, delays your death for a few seconds. Quick capture. This is going to speed up your capture speed for capturing points. I know some guys that use this particularly for like spawn points where you're trying to get through there quick because you don't want to be sitting. I die. If I die in a light, I'm usually dying at a spawn point because somebody drops in on me and my jump isn't up yet because I just jumped into it. So being able to capture a spawn point faster, being able to capture a base faster is always helpful. If you can fit that in there, I cannot argue with that. Radar Scrambler we've seen, Turret Jammer we've seen, and last one, this one's been adjusted a lot for Beta 9, is the upgraded repair beams. These used to be way higher for the repair speed, but now they've added in the ability to restore some of that shredded damage that we saw in the new weapon mods. So you can see a 75% repair speed and 50% on those bottom two. That's for repairing gens or repairing your buddies' damages, but if you want to repair their shredded damage, you need that tier 3 or tier 5 or a Corvus with the repair on it, the shred repair. And that covers all of the mods. You can see they all have prices. You're not going to have all these mods unlocked at the beginning, so if you're watching this and you're a new player, it's not going to look like this for you. It doesn't look like this when a new beta starts over. You're going to have a selection of kind of hodgepodge things that you can click through. But as you play more, you'll open up more things, and hopefully this gives you kind of an idea of what you can shoot for. If you'd like to see real quick, I'll show you just some loadouts that I have kind of pre-built that I play with. You can see a light phalanx catapult, double griffins. This is kind of a capping build for me, where I run around killing generators, capping bases, capping spawn points. I do have an expansion slot on there, which I don't love because it does slow down my walk speed, but I spend a lot of time skimming and not walking anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. You'll see a nano on there, all those mobility mods I talked about, jump jet, maneuverability and enhancer, jet overclock, flux, those two that I told you go hand in hand together. You'll see me using improved radar on most things because I do tend to strat call and tell people where the enemy is and where they should go. Turret jammer is a great one to have on a light because those turrets will tear you up. And radar scrambler, I don't know why I put that on there, I just put it on there. And then double agent, I'll tell you how important that is. For a medium, I threw this one together. This was kind of a build that I used in beta 8 when I was doing a lot of base healing and strat calling, where the weapons didn't matter too much. Sometimes I would go into an enemy base and start taking down their generators, so that's why you see the double griffins on there. The Spartan, I would use the shield wall to block doorways, so if I'm getting chased down, I'd run through a door and throw it down, and they couldn't follow me in there. They'd have to go around and find a different way to get to me, which buys me some time to figure out what I'm going to do. And then you can see I'm running an expansion slot on there because I'm not super mobile with this build. I was using Mordred, so I was teleporting around. You can see that enhanced autoloader that I talked about. I'm running double armor, so nano and armor booster for that. You can see my hand-in-hand flux capacitor, jet overclock pair, and Neo for the walk speed, jump height. That was more for the jump height to be able to jump away from fights that I wanted to get out of. My good old improved radar and radar scrambler. That's not bad for this build because I'm hanging around bases that they don't know where I am, so it can kind of mess with people trying to find me. And then, of course, the double agent and the upgraded repair beam to repair gens faster. One other comment I will make, I think I made it in the loadout video, you can see my guys are color-coded too. So this my capper, I always run this tiger skin. If you see me running around in that means I'm capping. If you see me in this neon getup, I'm usually focused on strat calling and healing gens, kind of, base defense, sitting at a base. And then if you see me in a camo skin, I'm usually brawling. I like to use Banshee Brimstone paired up. They both have the shredding mods on there, which I've just kind of added in. Double recurves for extra damage when I'm brawling up face-to-face. We call brawling face-to-face fighting, essentially. You're chasing people down, you're shooting them face-to-face, they're shooting you face-to-face type of thing. Corvus usually for after the fight. If you pop a Corvus in the middle of a fight, which I do sometimes just to get them to stop and shoot at that, but it's going to get blown up. They're super fragile, but that's the little repair drone that you can heal up with after a fight, assuming you survive. I do run expansion slot. There's the counter punch for when they're hitting into my armor that does the armor damage back. There's the good old enhanced autoloader. You can see good old enhanced flux and jet overclock for my mobility. Defenses are armor boosters, shield boosters, and then some kinetic reinforced plating to help protect my armor more. My improved radar, double agent, and upgrade repair beam. And then last but not least, this is my double phalanx build that Belgrim gives me trouble about. He doesn't like me playing this. Double phalanx with the trick shot, enhanced homing, recurve parados. The recurve is more for finding like mines and things like that. It's not going to save me in a fight, but I like that it picks out things that I don't always notice, like mines or hounds or things. The parados is for shooting down drones and for shooting down the incoming griffins. The walls for hiding behind, because usually I'm kind of up in an elevated position, and if people are shooting at me, I'll drop a shield and kind of hide behind it, poke out, shoot, poke back. Reload, autoloader. Do have enhanced mags on this one, just because I had some extra points to throw in. armor booster and some plating, the good old jet flux, the good old radar and double agent, and a healing mod. So that should give you an idea if you're looking for, okay, how to do some basic fits. That'll get you kind of in the door and working, and then you can start experimenting for what works for you and what you feel good about, what you don't like, the kind of weapons you lean toward. I think everybody kind of has their own flavors of things that they like and don't like. So play with it, find what you enjoy, and go with that. And I'll see you in the field. This is Beta 9 Mods.